Hi, everybody. We are doing the chapter 11 PowerPoint in this video. This is a quote that's at the beginning of the PowerPoint. You don't need to know it. It was just something I guess the publisher thought was helpful. I'm sharing my screen right now. There we go. So chapter 11 is all about the preparation outline, which is another way to refer to your speech written out in complete form, but it's in a particular format and a particular template called the visual framework. And it's very important, both for your grade and for your preparation for your speech, that you follow that visual framework. The visual framework is the way that the preparation outline or the speech is laid out. So it is the spacing, the lettering, and the numbering. That's the visual framework. We're going to talk about everything that the preparation outline contains. I'm going to show you an example, which is also provided for you in the handout section of coursework. I'm also going to attach it to today's recap email. And so just pay close attention to the way that everything's laid out. And fair warning, you might have to adjust your settings on Microsoft Word to be able to do the outline in the format that it's asking for, but you absolutely can. You might just have to troubleshoot it. I have to do that sometimes after my computer has restarted and it goes back to the initial settings. So if you find yourself in that boat, just Google how to adjust things on Microsoft Word, like the amount of spacing after each letter or number in your outline, and the amount of spacing when the letters indent the letters or the numbers. So you can adjust the spacing before the numbers, you can adjust the spacing after them. There, you can easily find it if you just Google what it is that you're looking for. And the adjustments are easy to make. If you don't intuitively know, then just look it up, because there's plenty of information out there. Okay, so what are subpoints? Well, subpoints are the places in the outline where you offer support for your main points. And so they are meant to amplify, illustrate, clarify, which is to say, make more clear and make more substantial and supported your main points. Okay, so we're going to talk about outlining the speech. So this preparation outline that we're going to do is developed during speech preparation, right? That's why it's called a preparation outline. So what does it contain? Well, it contains virtually every single thing you plan to say with your mouth during your speech. So that means that when you read the preparation outline aloud, it should sound like you think your speech is going to sound. So we're not writing in sentence fragments. We are not writing things like, here's where I will talk about. No, we're saying what it is you are literally going to say. Now, does that mean that I'm going to have the preparation outline in front of me and I'm going to be checking it against what's actually coming out of your mouth? No, it's not going to be word perfect, but you are going to write yourself essentially a framework for your speech, a safety net, so that you have something to refer back to as you're rehearsing, and so that you're ready to speak with a briefer set of notes during your actual presentation. So for the purposes of your exam, you need to know that the preparation outline contains virtually everything you plan to say, all supporting information and transition. So we're going to get into it. So these are the contents. It contains a heading. For our purposes, just cut and paste your topic outline into your heading. Just cut and paste the whole thing. That serves as the heading of your preparation outline. And then you're going to get into the rest of the outline. Now, when you cut and paste that topic outline, it should be the most recent, the final draft of your outline. So I'm about to give you feedback for your final drafts. I've already given you feedback on your first drafts. So if you still need to change something, it would be changed before you cut and paste it into the final draft heading of your preparation outline. So the final draft, final draft, like the last time you touch it, of your topic outline becomes the heading of your preparation outline. Even in your first draft of your preparation outline, I should see the final draft of your topic outline as that heading. So you just cut and paste that whole thing. And then you're going to put in your introduction, your main points, your subpoints, your transitions or connectives, the conclusion, and the bibliography or the works cited page if you have one. For this one, you're probably not going to need one. So what else? Okay, again, like I just said, you start with the heading, that revised topic outline, and then you use that framework, which is that consistent pattern of symbolization and indentation. Now, symbolization and indentation, what does that mean? It's another way of saying the letters, the numbers, and the spacing. So the symbols in symbolization, as it's referred to here, are those letters and numbers. The indentation is a way to refer to the spacing. So indentation means spacing and symbolization means letters and numbers. You're going to label clearly the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, and you're going to state your main points and your subpoints in full sentences, not sentence fragments, full sentences. You're going to use the same central idea and the main points from the heading in the body of your speech, in the introduction of your speech. You may adjust them a little bit. Like for the central idea, your central idea might be something like, my necklace is significant to me because comma is significant to you because comma is significant to society because period, filling in the blanks, obviously. And instead of just cutting and pasting it and leaving it there, you might add a quick phrase at the beginning of it that sounds something like, today I will be sharing with you that my necklace is significant to me because, and then you use what you've copied and pasted from the central idea from your topic outline. And that is just more inclusive, it's more attention grabbing, and it becomes what's called the preview statement of your speech. So write the body, which is to say the bulk, the middle part of your speech. Think about it like the movie versus the preview or the trailer for the movie. So write the body first. That doesn't mean don't sketch out your introduction or have a rough version of your introduction. You can absolutely do that, but finalize the introduction after you have finished writing the body so that the movie and the preview match, because your body might take a different turn than you expected. You want to make sure that your introduction is previewing exactly what you're going to cover. It's sort of like you're writing the check in the introduction, you're cashing the check in the body, and you're giving the receipt in the conclusion. Okay. So label your transitions. Don't worry about internal summaries and internal previews. Like I said in a previous chapter, we don't really use those in such a short speech. So label the transitions clearly. And if you've got one, attach your bibliography or your works cited page. We'll talk more about that later. You won't probably need one for speech number 1. Visual framework, again, as I've said over and over, and this is something you'll need to know for your exam. The symbolization and indentation showing the relationships among the ideas. So how it's spaced and how it's lettered and numbered shows how everything ties together. Why is this important? Why am I so insistent that you do this? Well, this isn't even a Professor Butler thing. It's in the textbook. It's common practice for public speaking. The point is, if I can't find a place to put my sentence or my words into the visual framework, that's a good indicator that I have gone off of topic, that I am rambling, that I am talking about something too unrelated. And so if you can't find a place to put it in your framework, it probably doesn't need to be in your speech. It helps you make sure that you're not going off the beaten path. Now, each single, hear me say this, each single letter or number gets its own, or sorry, each single sentence, yeah, I'll say it both ways. Each single sentence gets its own letter or number in the visual framework, and each letter or number in the visual framework gets its very own complete sentence with punctuation. Make sure you're punctuating. I am going to show you, like I said, that example of the preparation outline that's from a real student, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But each letter or number gets its own single sentence. Each single sentence gets its own letter or number in the visual framework. This is what that visual framework might look like. Now, you get a topic outline template that you just fill out. I can't give you the same kind of a template. I'll give you the example to use as a guide, but I can't give you the same template because everybody's going to vary. So as long as each main point is taking up roughly the same amount of space on the page, you're good. But you might support your main points differently from main point to main point. You're going to need different letters and numbers and spacing, and you're definitely going to need different letters and spacing from person to person. So, Roman numeral 1, main point. And then I go down and over, and then my subpoints, my letters A, my letters B, they both support what's immediately above it and to the left. So I know if I think of my main points like the what, my subpoints are like the how, the where, the why, the when. So main points are what, and then how, when, why, where, all of the additional details and supporting stuff, that goes in my subpoints, my subpoints, my sub points, and so on. And so whatever is under it and immediately to the right supports what's above it and immediately to the left. So my subpoints, if you follow my cursor, my subpoints are supporting that Roman numeral. I know it looks like a capital letter I, but it's a Roman numeral 1. So my Roman numeral 1 is supported by A and B. So A and B are directly above and below each other, and they're in the same line. So I know they're equally important, and they both have to do with this. So if I say something like, my necklace is significant to me because my grandmother gave it to me. And then I might say, she gave it to me when she was diagnosed with cancer. She was living in my family's house at the time, right? So that information both has to do with the same overall idea, right? But if I want to say more about why she was living with my family, so she was living with my family at the time, she moved in to help take care of my little brother, right? And then she lived in her own bedroom on the first floor, whatever, right? So these two things would support whatever's over it and immediately to the left. So as I get more detailed, I go further over to the right. As I get more specific, I go further over to the right so that when it also helps me edit, so that when I'm looking at my outline and I'm going over time, or I realize that my main point 1 is way more developed than my main point 2, I can see where to add things, where to edit things or take them away. And then I also might support main point 2 differently. Main point 2 might have 2 subpoints like this, but then I might, sorry, I skipped ahead too soon. I might have, let's say I just have one subpoint here, and then I go into, I would put instead of a, an Arabic number, which is what these numbers are that we use every day. These are Roman numerals, the I and the 2 I's, the 1 and the 2. Those are Roman numerals. These numbers that we use every day, those are called Arabic numbers. So if I have said everything I want to say about this up here, but I want to go more into detail with this subpoint, the way I would support that is I would put a lowercase a underneath that, and that would become what's called a subpoint. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Let me do a new share. So right here, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger for you. Hopefully you can see that. So right here, I've got my main point, which is a Roman numeral. I've got my subpoint, which is a capital letter. I've got my subpoint, which is an Arabic number. I've got my lowercase letter, subpoint, and then a Roman numeral, which is a lowercase I, but it's a lowercase Roman numeral 1, and that would be my subpoint. Now, I am probably not going to use a lot of those subpoints because I'm really, really specific there, but I might need a couple of them. So this is an example of a main point that's developed in this way. But if I wanted to do something like, let's say, let's see if this will cooperate. Yeah. So if I wanted to add another subpoint for main point 1, it would look like that. Hold on, I messed up. I was trying to do a C. Hold on. Watch me struggle in real time. And let's say I want to do I don't want to struggle with this in front of you, but if I wanted to, I'm pressing enter, but it's going back. I don't know what's going on. But if I wanted to do another sub point, it would look like a C. And I would have to do what I just told you to do. I'd have to Google and see what the problem is there because it's being stubborn. So if I want to do another sub point, these sub points are supporting B. These sub points are supporting number 2. And this sub point is supporting sub point letter lowercase b. So this sub point is supporting the sub point. So you add a sub every time you go further and over to the right. And I know that's confusing. You're probably gonna have to rewind it a whole bunch of times, but this is what that would look like. And see how it jumped the spacing? I would try to fix that, but if yours is being stubborn like that, as long as the letters and numbers are spaced correctly and supporting what they need to support, if you've got a lot of extra spacing between here and here, that's not a big deal, okay? Because I know it can be frustrating. So if I wanted to further support my main point directly, there would be a C there. If I wanted to, let's say I'm editing my speech and I realize, gosh, like my speech is going over time. I can look immediately at this and know that whatever is over and to the right is the most specific and the least important. So that's what I would cut. So if I'm going over time, I'd cut these first. If I'm going under time, then I might add them, right? If I am looking at my speech and I've been told in my feedback for my first draft that main point 1 is way more developed than main point 2, I can add more sub points or sub points to the underdeveloped main point. And so that's how we are gonna work on supporting our main points. And so if I realize I'm going under time, I can add them back in, right? So that's a way that I am able to immediately look at what's most important, how my main points are supported, and whether or not they are supported. So that's how that looks. Now I'm also going to show you, you can see, just FYI, this is what I mean when I'm going to show you a little bit of my brain right here, just so you know that everybody needs to look up stuff sometimes. Right here, I needed to look up how to change the spacing because it was bananas when I first tried. So that I just Googled, how do I lower the number of spaces after a number in an outline in Word? Boom. And it gave me my answers, right? So just so you know. All right, let's go back to the example I wanted to show you. So this is the example of the preparation outline from a real student who did that real topic outline. You're going to see how that topic outline was developed into into a preparation outline. We do 3 outlines for each speech. We do the topic outline, the preparation outline, and we do the speaking outline, which we're going to cover in a little bit. So if I'm looking at this, I can see how, oh my goodness, hold on. I pulled up the topic outline again, not the preparation outline. Just kidding. All right, hold on. Let me make sure I'm showing the right thing, because sometimes when I'm sharing my screen, it looks like I'm showing you what I think I'm showing you, but it's not if I go between things too quickly. So the preparation outline is what we're looking at. So if I'm looking at this, I can see she's cut and pasted the topic outline that you just saw, the topic outline into the heading, just cut and paste the whole thing, and then labeled the introduction, written in complete sentences. You can see how it goes from a topic outline to a preparation outline. So she's got 2 subpoints supporting that first main point. Then she goes into Roman numeral 2. This is her preview statement that has all of her main points listed in a single sentence. That's the central idea from her topic outline. She's labeled that transition. And we talk about transitions in another chapter soon. And then the body is labeled. And then she goes into each main point. Now, one thing I want to point out, you're going to start over in each part. So it's Roman numeral 1, A, B, and then Roman numeral 2. That's in the introduction. But then when she gets into the body, she starts those Roman numerals over again. It doesn't go 1, 2, 3. It goes 1, 2, and then the body, she starts over with 1 again. And then A support. So this is the what, and this is the when, the how, the where, the when. So the song I Hope You Dance, performed by Leanne Womack and Sons of the Desert, is significant to me because it's the message my mom wanted to leave behind for me when she passed. Tell me more about that. My mom sung this song to my sister and I. The grammar's a little wonky there, but I don't grade on grammar. So my mom sung this song to my sister and I all the time since it was released in March of 2000 up until she passed away in January of 2008. Tell me more about that. Every time it came on the radio in the car, she would make sure to turn it up and tell us that this was her song for us. And then she's going to talk about how she passed, or a little bit more about that. And so that goes back to supporting right here. So she supported main point 1 here, and then she supported subpoint A here. But now she wants to support main point 1 more. She goes back out to subpoint B. And when she wants to talk more about subpoint B, she does it here with 1 and 2. And then when she wants to talk more in detail about subpoint 2, she does it with subpoint A. And if she'd wanted to say more about this subpoint B, she would have done that with a small lowercase Roman numeral I, like I showed you previously. So that's how it ends up looking. Then there's another transition between the next main point, which is developed similarly. Now, the way she develops these, so right here I've got A, B, and then 1, 2, A, B. I've got A, B, and instead of going 1, 2 like she did above, she goes A, B, C. So as long as, and again, this is why I don't give you an exact template to follow, as long as main point 1 and main point 2 take up roughly the same amount of space on the document, you're good to go. How you take up that space will vary. So then I transition between main point 1 and 2, and then between 2 and 3. I support main point 3. Main point 3 is a little short, but it's not such a dramatic difference that it matters. It's maybe 1 line or 2 shorter. And then I transition into the conclusion, and my Roman numerals start over again. Okay. And she didn't need a works cited page. It would go here. So she didn't use any sources beyond the primary source of the song. So I'm not going to make you do a works cited page for that. But that's where it would go on that last page. So this is what the assignment looks like when I say preparation outline. It's written in complete sentences. And where do I have my transitions? I've got them between the intro and the body, between the body and the conclusion, and between all of the main points. Now, I'm also going to give you a preparation outline and a speaking outline checklist so that you can ask yourself the questions. I'll attach that to today's email as well, so that you can attach or so that you can ask yourself the questions like, do I have all of my letters and numbers? Do I have the correct spacing? Did I double check the template or the visual framework? Did I write in complete sentences that are punctuated, right? Did I spend roughly the same amount of time on each main point? So I'll send you a checklist as well as this outline attached to today's email. And you can also find this outline I'm showing you right now in handout 1 in handouts on coursework. Okay, so let me go back to the chapter. And here we are in that visual framework. So here's an outline without proper indentation. If I were to rehearse with this outline, you can see that I would not know where to emphasize things, where to have vocal variety. I would probably sound pretty monotone because I don't know what the most important ideas are. Whereas here, I know the most important ideas are over to the left and higher, and the least important ones are the ones that are furthest over to the right. Okay, now one thing I want to point out, the publisher makes me mad here. Right here, whoops, right here, this is supposed to be main point 1, but it is not, it couldn't be a main point, even though it's got a Roman numeral, because there's nothing supporting it. There's absolutely nothing supporting it. There are no subpoints, no sub-subpoints, and so it doesn't take as much room on the outline page as main point 2 would. So the publisher really messed up here and didn't support main point 1. So don't pay much attention to main point 1 because you wouldn't do that. You want to support it like we've been talking about. So let's just look at main point 2. So King's greatest triumphs came during the early 1960s. Tell me more about that. I would go over and to the right. In 1963, he led mass demonstrations against segregation in Birmingham, Alabama. Tell me more about that. Later in 1963, he participated in the famous March on Washington, D.C. Tell me more about that. And then I would go over and to the right so that I knew that the more than 200,000 people took part refers to Washington, D.C., not Birmingham, Alabama. Okay. So this is what that would look like properly spaced. And again, don't pay attention to main point 1 because it's not supported. It should have stuff underneath it. That's a pretty glaring error from the publisher, if I must say so. So right here is what the main points look like when they're developed in that preparation outline. So tell me more goes over and to the right. Tell me more over and to the right. Oh, but you know what? Let me tell you more about that first thing I said. And then I would go back over and to the left, and that would support this. So this A supports 2, this B supports 2, this 1 supports B. Okay. And so that's how that would look. Now, I mentioned that A and B that are above and below each other in a single file line, that means that they are equally important. And that's called coordination. You're going to need to know that for your exam. Coordination means that equal statements are placed on equal levels of the outline. So A, B, and C are equally important. 3 is most important because it's over and to the left. So another thing I want to point out is see how the subpoints start over every time you start a new main point. So I go A, B, 1, 2, C to support main point 2. And then I don't go to D in main point 3, I go to A. Okay. And so equal statements placed on equal levels of the outline, that means A, B, and C are equally important in main point 3. They're also equally important as the C up here. See how they're single file? So if I am going to edit or further develop, I know exactly where I have room to do either of those. Okay. So subordination, that's the longer version of sub. So sub is short for subordination. And subordination means that you are less important but than the thing above you, but you are needed to support the thing above you. Think about it like a sub floor. Like the floor that I see in my house, that's the most important floor to me because that's the one I see every day. It needs to look the nicest, right? But what's supporting that floor, what's keeping that floor from crashing in is what's called the subfloor underneath it, the beams and stuff holding it up. So subpoints move from more important to less important, and they move from more general to more specific as they get over and to the right. A bibliography is a list of sources used in speech preparation. Now, hear me say this because people are just not getting taught the difference between a bibliography and a works cited page all the time. So I will accept either, but here's the difference. People think they're the same, they're not. Biblio is a prefix that means book. So when you think of your sources as books, websites, it all applies, but initially you would be just using books back in the day, right? So if I'm doing a speech about volcanoes and I go to the library and I check out 3 books on volcanoes, and when I go home, I look at 3 websites on volcanoes. But then when I do my speech, I only cite one of the books and 2 of the websites. If I'm doing a bibliography, how many sources would be on it? Because the bibliography and the works cited page look exactly the same in MLA, at least. So if I use, again, I check out 3 books, I look at 3 websites, but I only cite 1 book and 2 websites. On a works cited page, I would only have 3 sources. I would have the book and the 2 websites. But In a bibliography, I would have 6 sources. I would have everything that I looked at. An annotated bibliography, that's something different where you explain the relevance of the sort, like, that's a different thing. But just a straight up bibliography looks the same as a works cited page. The difference is I'm using everything that I looked at in my bibliography. I'm only using what I actually cited in my works cited page. Why would I do a bibliography? Well, in case I accidentally forget to cite something, I can still demonstrate what's called good faith. It shows that I didn't mean to plagiarize. I just left something out, but here it's on my bibliography. Whereas if I don't list a book, but I cite a book, it might look like I'm trying to plagiarize. And so it demonstrates a little bit of that good faith. It also demonstrates how much you prepared. So those are the values of each of them. A works cited page obviously is more simple. It's easier to look back at how you used things. So it's a judgment call. I prefer when I write to use a bibliography, just in case I accidentally do make a mistake. I'm covered because I wasn't trying to do anything wrong. The speaking outline is a brief outline to jog your memory during the presentation. For our purposes, hear me say this, the speaking outline is literally what you hold in your hands when you speak. That's why it's called the speaking outline, because you hold it when you speak. It is a different outline than the preparation outline. If you turn in the preparation outline again for the speaking outline, you're going to get a 0 because I'm not going to grade you twice for the same assignment. So the speaking outline is written on note cards that you hold. It's not written on sticky notes that you stick on your computer. It's not written on printed out paper that you printed your preparation outline on and you're just reading from it. It's a specific thing. And I'm going to send you a copy of that, probably attached to tomorrow's, because I don't want to overload you. So probably attached to um, tomorrow's recap email will be the speaking outline example. But you're going to follow the same exact visual framework, the Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, subpoints A, B, C, however it is. I should see every letter and number from your preparation outline on those note cards. But instead of complete sentences, I should see brief phrases just to jog your memory. So, right here, if I go back to this, and my Roman numeral on my preparation outline reads King's greatest triumphs came during the early 1960s, I might write on my note cards, greatest triumphs equal early 1960s. And then I'll have that subpoint A written there. And then I might do 63 Arrow, Birmingham, Alabama. And I will remember the sentence that I'm trying to say, but I will only have a few words and phrases to jog my memory. So, why do I do that? Why don't I just read from the preparation outline? Well, because as you can imagine, the more I read, the less dynamic I sound, the less human I sound. We've all had teachers and professors who have read more than they have actually spoken naturally, and it can sound monotone. And the more I have on my note cards, the more I'm going to read them. Again, the more monotone I'm going to sound, but also the less eye contact I'm going to make. So, and for our purposes, our eye contact is going to be with the camera in your device. But still, I want to make sure that I am using my note cards to jog my memory. That's going to require you to rehearse, which is good anyway, so that you are more comfortable with your speech. Okay, so you're going to use the same visual framework of the preparation outline. So I don't want to see dots. I don't want to see bullet points. Every sentence from the preparation outline needs to be represented with the same letter or number that it had in the preparation outline on the speaking note card. So I should see every Roman numeral. I should see every letter A. Everything should be on there. It's just instead of a complete sentence, I've got a brief phrase. If you need the complete sentence on the note card, you probably need to rehearse more. Make legible so that you can read it and so that I can read it when you turn it in. Keep it brief, like we've been talking about, and include delivery cues if that helps. Sometimes I'll have students that will write in the margin, slow down. If they tend to speak quickly, that helps them remember to slow down. Also, your note cards can be highlighted if that helps you. I have some students who will highlight every main point in yellow and every sub point in pink and every sub point in orange. And so it just kind of keeps them understanding what to emphasize and how to do it differently so that you have those vocal dynamics and that vocal variety. Another thing is I advise you to number your note cards in the upper right corner in case they stick together. You'll be able to fix it without having to start your speech over and getting tongue tied or flustered. I advise you not to write on the back of the note card in case you absentmindedly flip them over and lose your place. So that is my advice. And I also advise you not to use giant note cards or really bright colored note cards because those can be distracting for the audience. And the bigger they are, the more noise they make when you're flipping them, which is a problem, especially in our format because it makes noise in the microphone. That's also why we don't like to use printed out pieces of paper, even if we cut them smaller, because they're thin and they stick together. If your fingers are sweaty, they make a lot of noise when you're pulling them apart. So there's a reason for all of these requirements. And again, delivery cues are directions for delivering key parts of the speech. So if I were to write slow down in a part where I really want to make sure that I do, or speak up, or um really anything, break this down, whatever is significant to the speaker would be considered a delivery cue if it has to do with how you want to say whatever it is at that moment. Like if I am going to point to a visual aid, especially if I'm in a classroom, a physical classroom, and I want to remember to point to the aid and I'm scared that I won't remember to do that, I might even write point to graph, right? That would be a delivery cue. And that is chapter 11. I'm going to go ahead and put this on YouTube and then I will do the next chapter for you. Thank you so much.